The Royal Palace of Madrid, Spanish, Palacio Real de Madrid, is the official residence of the Spanish royal family at the city of Madrid, although now used only for state ceremonies. The palace has 135,000 square meters, 1,450,000 square feet, of floor space and contains 3,418 rooms. It is the largest royal palace in Europe. The palace is owned by the Spanish state and administered by the Patrimonio Nacional, a public agency of the Ministry of the Presidency. The palace is on Calle de Bailén Street, in the western part of downtown Madrid, east of the Manzanares River, and is accessible from the Opera metro station. Felipe VI and the royal family do not reside in the palace, choosing instead the Palace of Zarzuela in El Pardo. View of the palace complex from the east. The palace is on the site of a bygone Muslim era fortress constructed by Emir Muhammad I of Córdoba in the 9th century. The imposing Alcazar of Madrid provided both a safe for the royal treasure and a habitual residence to the Trastamara monarchs in the late Middle Ages. Having endured substantial expansion works during the 16th century, the royal Alcazar remained on the site until it burned down on December 24, 1734. A new palace was then built from scratch on the same site on behalf of the Bourbon dynasty. Construction spanned the years 1738 to 1755 and followed a Bernini-esque design by Filippo Guevara and Giovanni Battista Sacchetti in cooperation with Ventura Rodriguez, Francesco Sabatini, and Martin Sarmiento. During the Second Spanish Republic the building was known as Palacio Nacional. The interior of the palace is notable for its wealth of art and the use of many types of fine materials in the construction and the decoration of its rooms. It includes paintings by artists such as Caravaggio, Juan de Flandes, Francisco de Goya, and Velázquez, and frescoes by Giovanni Battista Tiepolo, Corrado Giaquinto, and Anton Raphael Mengs. Many of the paintings at some time hung in the palace as part of the Spanish royal collection are exhibited elsewhere, especially in the Prado Museum and the Royal Collections Gallery, both in Madrid. Other collections of great historical and artistic importance preserved in the building include the Royal Armoury of Madrid, porcelain, watches, furniture, silverware, and the world's only complete Stradivarius string quintet. The palace was initially built by Muhammad I, Umayyad Emir of Córdoba, between 860 and 880. After the Moors were driven out of Toledo in the 11th century, the castle retained its defensive function. Henry III of Castile added several towers. His son John II used it as a royal residence. During the War of the Castilian Succession, 1476, the troops of Joana la Beltraneja were besieged in the Alcazar, during which the building suffered severe damage. The only drawing of the castle from the Middle Ages is one from 1534 by Cornelius Vermeyen. Emperor Charles V, with the architects Alonso de Covarrubias and Luis de Vega, extended and renovated the castle in 1537. Philip II made Madrid his capital in 1561 and continued the renovations, with new additions. Philip III and Philip IV added a long southern facade between 1610 and 1636. Philip V of Bourbon renovated the royal apartments in 1700. The Alcazar of the Habsburgs was austere in comparison to the Palace of Versailles where the new king had spent his childhood, and he began a series of redesigns mainly planned by Teodoro Ardemans and René Carlier, with the main rooms being redecorated by Queen Maria Luisa of Savoy and the Princess of Orsini in the style of French palaces. In 1760, Charles III called upon Sicilian Francesco Sabatini, a neoclassical architect, to enlarge the building. Sabatini's original idea was to frame the Plaza de la Armeria with a series of galleries and arcades, to accommodate various dependencies. Clarification needed, by constructing two wings along the square. Only the extension of the southeast tower known as La de San Gil was completed. Sabatini also planned to extend the north side with a large wing that echoed the style of the main building and included 3 square courtyards that would be smaller than the large central courtyard. Work on this expansion started quickly but was soon interrupted, leaving the foundations buried under a platform on which the royal stables were later built. The stables were demolished in the 20th century and replaced by the Sabatini Gardens. Charles III first occupied the palace in 1764. In the 19th century, Ferdinand VII, who spent many years imprisoned in the Château de Valence, began the most thorough renovation of the palace. The aim of this redesign was to turn the old-fashioned Italian-style building into a modern French-style palace. However, his grandson Alfonso XII proposed to turn the palace into a Victorian-style residence. Alfonso's plans were designed by the architect José Segundo de Lema and consisted of remodeling several rooms, replacing marble floors with parquet, and adding period furniture. In the 20th century, restoration work was needed to repair damage suffered during the Spanish Civil War, by repairing or reinstalling decoration and decorative trim and replacing damaged walls with faithful reproductions of the originals. The palace is now open to the public, except during state functions, although it is so large that only a selection of rooms are on the visitor route at any one time, the route being changed every few months. An admission fee of €13 is charged, however, at some times it is free. The main facade of the palace, the one facing the Plaza de la Armeria, consists of a 2-story rusticated stone base, from which rise Ionic columns on Tuscan pilasters framing the windows of the 3 main floors. The upper story is hidden behind a cornice which encircles the building and is capped with a large balustrade. This was adorned with a series of statues of saints and kings, but these were relocated elsewhere under the reign of Charles III to give the building a more classical appearance. The restoration of the facade in 1973, which includes Sabatini's balcony of 4 Doric columns, returned some of Sachetti's sculptures. These include statues of the Aztec ruler Moctezuma II and the Inca Emperor Atahualpa, works by Juan Pascual de Mina and Domingo Martinez, respectively. Representations of the Roman emperors Honorius, Theodosius I, and Arcadius by G. de Olivieri, and Trajan by Felipe de Castro were placed in the prince's courtyard. Flanking Sabatini's clock the statues of Philip V, Ferdinand VI, Barbara of Braganza and Maria Luisa of Savoy interspersed with the rising sun following the zodiac. Above the clock is the royal coat of arms flanked by angels, and, above that, bells that date from 1637 and 1761. Please follow us in our succeeding videos as we explore the beautiful country Spain. Please don't forget to hit the like button, the notification bell for notifications. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more exciting videos.